And joining us now, the Minister of Trade and Industry for Kurdistan. His name is Sinan Celebi, and he joins us today in our studio here in Toronto. It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Now, in our country, if somebody's a cabinet minister, we call them minister. What do they call them in Kurdistan?
The same thing, minister.
Minister?
Yes.
Not your excellency or anything like that?
Well, sometimes they do call that one, but that's it. Minister,
That's
minister.
it. Minister it is. You know where your country is, but I can't necessarily say for 100% certainty that all of our audience knows. So we're going to bring a map up here just so everybody knows the part of the world we're talking about. We're talking about the semi-autonomous region within Iraq called Kurdistan. Iraq's constitution does recognize the Kurdistan regional government, the Kurdistan parliament, they are important regional institutions, and the Peshmerga, Guard, as the legitimate regional force in that part of the world. So what brings you here? Let's start there.
First, let me correct something. It's not semi-autonomous. It's a federal government by constitution. Iraq is a federal state. And
as we have here in Canada.
Similar to that one in one way. It was during Saddam's era we had an autonomous region. Not officially, but it was. But now it is a federal state.
You prefer federal as opposed to semi-autonomous?
It is semi-autonomous,
okay.
Yes.
So why come to Canada?
We come to Canada to search for a common ground that will bring us to cooperate in the future, near future.
Common ground on what?
Economy, education, all aspects that we can put our hands on.
And who have you met with so far?
Up to this moment, I haven't met, let us say, my counterpart. But I met with Mr. Speaker of the Parliament and some other politicians, and we discussed how we can do business for both sides.
So is your trip more focused on our provincial government in Ontario or the national government across Canada?
Of course, for national government and the provincial government. But we have to start from somewhere, and we have started from here.
Gotcha. What kind of business or trade opportunities do you think exist between your country and ours?
I think we can do a lot of job. As I said, we must present our list of shoppings, what we can do here, what we need, seek opportunities, try for asking for investments of Canadian companies, firms, to invest in our region.
Now, we know you have oil.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to offer us?
Oil isn't enough by itself.
Well, we have a bit of oil in this country, too.
Yes, all the fighting in the world for the oil.
That's right.
We have oil, we have gas, we have natural resources, others, but it takes time to explore them. That's why we are here.
So you'd like to meet with some of our oil and gas companies in the hopes that they'll invest in your country?
Not exactly. I am a Minister of Trade and Industry. The gas, the petroleum and natural resources have another minister. But I am here just to seek, as I said, to find a common ground that we can play on that one.
Now, do you have any difficulty getting meetings with people you want over here?
Up to now, no.
No, you haven't?
No.
Okay. There aren't people who say, we really only rather deal with the national government in Iraq. More on that later. I'm not sure they're there yet, but as opposed to having to deal with you?
Not up to now.
Okay. Let me read this, Minister, from the Guardian newspaper. This was published earlier this year. It goes like this. It is difficult to get any business done in Kurdistan without the assistance and permission of one of the two main parties in the Kurdish coalition, the PUK or the KDP, and the two dynastic families which head them. International business people may be refused visas if they do not allow one party or the other to be silent partners in their venture. Non-party members, especially those who criticize the government, find it very difficult to find work. Kurdistan has come a long way in a very short time, but it has much further yet to go. Not only does it have to prove to a skeptical business community that it can be a safe and stable long-term investment environment, it must also show that it is willing to clean up the corrupt practices and instincts of its government. Only then can people here begin to hope for growth on a scale approaching that of Dubai. Okay, what's your reaction to that comment?
For the first part, I was a businessman before I became a minister.
What did you do?
I had my own establishment. in my establishment, we funded around $40 million for construction of buildings, educational buildings. And I don't have any partners from any of those families that you see. We have high respect for them, but none of them came to me and say, look, I want to be a partner with you. So and $40 million in a country like mine is not a small one. Mm-hmm. And it was all funded from Turkey. So that's a good question, good answer for the first part. But if you want to go there and say, well, I want a partner, that's a different case, because that's huge. On the other side, for the case of corruption, I think we have corruptions at the same scale as you have it here or in any other country in the world. We are trying to do over that one, but not more than that I can say. And I'm not saying this as a minister. I am saying that as a businessman, as Sinan Celebi, and as an architect.
So in your experience, you didn't have to cut in these people to do business over there?
None of them. And I know both of them, both leaders, quite well. Mm-hmm. And not a single man or a person came to me and asked for this one or that one.
So what is Kurdistan doing to put out the word that it's actually a safe and open place to do business, as opposed to how The Guardian has described it here, which is from time to time too corrupt?
Kurdistan, it's a region located in the north of Iraq. We had nothing as industry or trade because it was all controlled during the last era by the central government. So we are establishing from zero, starting from a zero. We are starting democracy from zero. We are too young. Of course, we may have some obstacles in our way, but in due time, we shall overcome that one.
Let me read you another quote now. This is from the Middle East correspondent for Time magazine, Andrew Lee Butters, and he wrote this about Kurdistan. This is a few years ago already. He said, on the one hand, Kurdistan is a rare success story in the Middle East, a stable territory run by a secular leadership committed to economic and political reform and sitting on a huge pool of oil. On the other hand, it is tiny and landlocked, uncomfortably attached to a war-ravaged nation and surrounded by unfriendly neighbors. Despite the region's outward signs of tranquility, the fate of Kurdistan, whether it will continue as an inspiring example of what the rest of Iraq could look like or become engulfed by the country's violence, remains unresolved, dependent as much on what happens to the barely functioning Iraqi state as on the Kurds. So what do you say to investors who are impressed with what you've done in Kurdistan, but who are concerned about the neighborhood you're in?
When was written this?
2007.
Today, our region is one of the safest regions in the whole Middle East, that I can say. Our relation with our neighbors, with Iran, Turkey in particular, and the rest of them are very well. There are two main reasons for that one. A decision was taken by our government that we are not going to have fighting, we are not going to have any sort of violence for our rights or any other thing. The other part, which involves that one, is the policy that took place in Ankara, in Turkey. Mm-hmm. They have decided that they should have zero problem with all neighbors. Now, if there are two decisions, which is one of them from our government and the other from the Turkey, so that make two of us that can put hand in hand. And now they are doing that. So our relation with Turkey is, I can say, quite good. Our relation with Iran is also good. With Syria, it's modest, good. True, our region was a region that brought many difficulties, let us say, to others. Mm-hmm. But now is the decision of our government that it must be an oasis of peace, a bridge of peace from north to south, from east to west. And we are trying very hard to convince and to prove to our neighbors that this is our region and this is what we want. We want to have, if it's possible, a mini Switzerland in our place. We know our difficult place, but with the wisdom, everything can be done.
So
and we are trying very hard to do that one.
You correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think has it been 7 years since any foreign troops were killed in the Kurdish area?
Not a single foreign soldier or officer have been kidnapped or injured or killed in our region. Not a single one.
In 7 years? I think since 2003 is what I read.
Yes.
So that's a long time. That's
not even in a car accident.
Okay. However, you know, September 1st marked the, I guess, Obama administration's official end of combat operations in Iraq. What do you think the United States is leaving behind after all that war?
To be honest, for our region, it was safe, let us say, 8 years ago, and it is safe now. We have been affected by what's going on in Baghdad or in the south. We hope that the middle and the south, one day, they will be as safe as we are. Concerning that one about leaving the United States Army, I think it's natural. It's time for them to leave. It's an agreement, and we hope that everything will be fine.
There's no government yet, though, in Iraq, is there?
Unfortunately, we need a little bit more time. Yes.
Why do you think it's taking so long?
I don't know. We must ask the present government there.
Is it a problem for you in Kurdistan that they have no government in Iraq?
Of course it affects us because we have many projects, let us say with Turkey, with other parts, that we need the acceptance of the federal government back that. So delaying with that one, it doesn't help us in that case. We're trying very hard not to be involved in their conflicts, but we'll try to soothe their conflicts whenever it's possible.
Let me follow up on something you said earlier, which is that you say you have good relations with Turkey right now.
Yes.
And that may come as a surprise to some people who, you know, have read stories over the years about the Kurdish minority inside Turkey that the Turks feel is a kind of a fifth column in an effort to someday create a greater Kurdistan. You've heard this before. So let me go at it again. Are you forswearing any interest in creating a greater Kurdistan ever?
No, no.
You're not forswearing it?
No, forswearing, but that's mean exactly.
Are you promising that you will never try to create a greater Kurdistan?
You see, the Kurds are divided among 4, 5 states.
Yes.
And during the Ottoman period, they were all under one control. And you know, the empire state, when you have an empire, there will be presence of all nations that are working that one. But after the First World War, it was divided into 4 states.
Turkey, Iraq, Syria.
Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Iran. Some in Azerbaijan also. I think the best thing is to take a method of the Switzerland. If you ask any French who live in Switzerland, are you going to join France? He'll say no, because his political state, economic state is much higher than that one. If you ask a German, are you going to join Germany? You'll have a similar answer, an Italian similar answer. So the most important thing is not to have join all these parts together, is to have a better standard of living, higher economic level, better relations. After all, Europe, they are all becoming one country, one constitute, one money. So why should you divide it? Now, Turkey signed 48 protocols with the Iraqi government. Another protocol, 51 protocol with Syria, to make a big economic area, integration of the economies. So I think what we have, these lines, though we have respect political-wise, it's not much. Now, any person from Syria can go to Turkey without any passport, without identification card. We hope one day you'll have it with Iraq, with Turkey, same thing with Iraq. So that's it.
Okay. Minister, you know you have friends here because we've had a woman named Amy Ball on this program a couple of times. She represents a group called Friends of Kurdistan, and she's gone over from here to your country, or to your, how would you like me to describe it? Did I say country or to your region of Iraq? What would
makes no difference.
Makes no difference. Okay. On several occasions to make the good case for Kurdistan. You're over here now trying to make the good case. How would you like people here in Ontario, people here in Canada, to regard Kurdistan after your visit?
I wish, honestly, to tell something about our region. I hear many times in the television or radio, they say there is a bomb exploded in the north of Iraq. It's true that our region of Kurdistan is part of the north. It is not the whole north. So our region is a very safe, a very promising place. We have a very good investment law, which is transparent, and I think is one of the best investment laws around us in the Middle East. I wish people come to our region and see by themselves. I don't want to say it is good or bad on that one, but I would like them to come here, to come there, and see by themselves, investigate by themselves. Make feasibility study for any job they want, any project that they wish. Then decide whether I am right or not.
Minister Celebi, let us say in your language, spas. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.